everybody. So today I'm going to be doing some yoga for singers as a warm-up. So I thought I would, instead of doing some kids videos that I have been doing lately, I thought I would do some yoga for singers. So we're going to start in Tadasana. So in order to do that, you want to stand with your feet shoulder width apart. You want to find the ball of your big toe, the point right underneath your pinky toe, and the middle point of the back of your heel. And in order to balance really well in this pose, you probably want to rock back and forth until you find a point between your toes and your heel where it feels really sturdy. So you don't want to be forward on your toes so that your toes are all scrunched up. And you also don't want to be backwards on your heels so that you feel like you're going to fall backwards. So you want to be between those 2 points. So once you find those 2 points, then you want to bring your knees so they're directly above your ankles, your hips so they're directly above your knees, your shoulders so that they're above your hips, and try and bring your ears so that they're above your shoulders. And we're going to do 3 breaths. We're going to inhale up and exhale down through the mouth. One more time. Inhale up and exhale down through the mouth. And inhale up and exhale down through the mouth. All right, this time we're going to interlock our fingers. We're going to bring them up above your head, and we are going to reach to the side. Nice stretch through the side of the body. Remember, you want to keep your feet nice and sturdy while you're doing this. And then come back to center and over to the other side. Nice and sturdy. You probably find that one side is way more flexible than the other side. And then come back to center. And then you want you to look at your fingers. You'll have one index finger that is in front of the other one, and I want you to switch them so that your index fingers are reversed. Okay? So that way it'll probably feel really weird because it's not the way that you normally do it. And then you're going to raise up. Remember to drop your shoulders away from your ears when you do this. And then reach to the side. Nice stretch. Keeping your feet nice and strong. Try not to lock your knees. So if you find that you're locking your knees, you can bend them slightly. And then come back to center. And then reach over to the side again. Nice deep stretch. And then come back to center and bring your hands back down. Now we're going to stretch out some of our neck. So I want you to still keep your Tadasana pose. So the idea is to keep your legs nice and strong throughout all of these poses so that these muscles are working, but remember not to lock your knees. So if you find that you're locking your knees, every so often just take a bend and unlock your knees and then come back into the position, okay? So we're gonna reach our ear to our shoulders. And if you feel, see how the shoulder came up? If you feel that you want a little bit more stretch, you can use your hand to stretch out the neck a little bit more. So you're trying to create distance between this ear and this shoulder, and then come back to center, and then go to the other side. And again, if you want a little bit more stretch, not too much of a stretch, but enough. And just allow the arm to create a little bit more weight. And then come back to center. All right, so now we're going to stretch out the back of the neck. So in order to do that, you're going to drop your chin to your chest. And if you want a little bit more weight for your head, you're going to interlock your fingers and you're going to place your hands on the back of your head. So drop your chin to your chest, and then bring your hands down and allow your elbows to point down to the floor. So remember, you're standing, so you don't want to pull yourself forward when you're doing this. And you don't want to slouch either. So you want to keep everything nice and tall. Just stretch out the whole back of the neck. Right? And then come back up. We're going to do each side and the center again. So come to the side. You can tell this is my tight side because my shoulder wants to come up with me. And reaching across the head. Just allow the neck to stretch out. Remember not to stretch it too much that you're actually hurting yourself, but just feel a nice stretch through the neck. And then back to center, to the other side. And if you're anything like me, this feels really good because I hold most of my tension in my shoulders and my neck. And then come back to center. Again, we're going to drop our chin to our chest. Interlock the fingers, elbows down towards the floor. And take a deep breath in, and then come back up. All right, so for the next pose, you can either use a strap, a men's tie, a belt, a piece of rope, or if you don't have any of that handy, you can just try and use your arms. So we're going to do what is called cow-faced arms pose. So I'm going to take my strap. I still want to stay in my Tadasana, but give your legs a little bit of a shake and relax them before we go into this pose a little bit. And then come back to your Tadasana. So find your feet and then find the balance between the front and the back. So we're going to bring the strap over the right shoulder. And we are going to bring the right arm and raise it straight up into the air. So you don't want your elbow bent, and you want your palm facing towards your body. And then you're going to reach down and grab the strap. You want to try and keep your elbow so that it's pointing straight up into the air. So you don't want the elbow out here. You want to try and keep it up here. Remember to release the top of the shoulder away from the air. You're going to take your left hand, you're going to reach it around behind you, and grab a hold of the strap. So the left hand does not have to be up very far. You can grab it down here on the waist if that feels okay. The idea is to open up the whole front of the chest so that your lungs are getting a nice and wide. So you can reach up if you want, or at the waist if you want. And then release, and you're going to go to the left side. This time you're going to bring the left arm straight up. Reach down behind your head. So when you reach down behind your head, if you brought your head forward to move it out of the way, you want to bring it back and release the tension in your neck here as you're doing this pose. Right arm, you're going to reach back behind you, and you are going to find that one side is going to be tighter than the other side. It's just the way things are. All right, take a breath in. Remember not to arch your back out this way. You want to keep everything nice and straight. So your shoulders are still in line with your hips. Your hips are still in line with your knees. Your knees are still in line with your ankles. And then release. And we're going to stay on this side just so we don't switch the straps back and forth a number of times. So we're going to do it one more time. So we're going to come up with the left arm. Reach down behind your head. Remember to bring your head back. Reach back with the right hand. This time I want you to pull the strap between the two hands. So you're pulling your hands away from each other. So remember not to do this so much that you're creating any stress or hurt in your body. You just want to use the muscles and start to open things up. All right, and then release. And you're going to come bring the strap to the right side. Right arm straight up. Reach back behind, again, bringing the head so that it's not forward. Elbow, try and point it straight up to the ceiling. Reach the left hand behind you, and you're going to pull the strap between the two hands. And take a breath. So if you can reach your hands together behind your back, feel free to do this. The reason I try and do this with the strap, and release from here, the reason I try and do this with a strap is because when you try and reach behind you, you tend to do weird things with your body to try and get them to reach. So with the strap, you're not going to do those weird things with your body as much. You will still move your head forward just because it's natural instinct to get your head out of the way. But you can always move that back, and it's a little bit easier, okay? So now we are going to move into a forward fold. So most people don't like this. I know my daughter doesn't like this pose because she can't touch her toes. You do not have to be able to touch your toes to do this pose. So we're going to release the legs a little bit. Do some ankle rolls. on both sides. All right, and then come back to your Tadasana. So find that balance front and back. For the first round, we're just going to go to a flat back. So you want to bring your hands to your hip joint. So not up here where your waist is and the top of your hips are, not where your belly button is, all the way up here. You want to be all the way down here, and that's where you're going to fold over. So the idea is to create a nice, tall, long spine as you fold over. So you're going to fold over. If you feel like the back of your legs are screaming at you, bend your knees slightly, all right? And then you want to bring your head so that you're looking down at the floor, so you're creating a nice long spine. Make sure that you're not falling forward onto your toes. You want to create that balance still between your toes and your heels. And when you come up, you want to lead with your heart center so that the blood doesn't rush directly to your head. So come up, leading with your heart center. Okay, so this time we're going to fold all the way over. So if you want, you can take a slightly wider stance. It makes it a little bit easier just to fold over. And again, you don't have to touch the floor. If your legs really bother you, you can bend your knees. Here, what I'm trying to do is actually stretch out the spine. So it's not about being able to do the forward fold. It's about releasing some tension through the neck, especially up through here and through the top of the back. So remember that your head is the heaviest part of your body. So we want to use that weight to our advantage when we do our forward folds. So we're going to come over halfway. And then again, if you want to bend your knees, feel free to bend your knees. You're going to drop your head. So it doesn't matter how far you got, you're going to drop your head. If you want to create more weight on your head, you can bring your hands to your head and just allow it to release the spine through here. And then once I get here, I like to do figure eights with my head just to loosen up my neck. All right, and when you come up from this pose, this is really important, is to come up with your heart first and not your head, so that the blood comes to your heart first and you don't get a head rush. So lead up with your heart and come back to standing. All right, we're going to release the legs again, and we're going to go through this one more time. So start in your Tadasana, and you can start with your legs slightly wider than shoulder width, or exactly shoulder width if you want. We're going to come into a half fold, and then we're going to come down into a full fold. So halfway, like there's a string attached to the top of your head that's pulling it towards me, because I'm on the other side of you. All right, and then you want to drop the head, and you can fold more if you want. If you can't, just release the head. You can bend the knees if you want to. Allow the neck to stretch out. And a couple of figure eights with the head. Just releasing the neck. And then when you come up, you want to lead with the heart center. So slowly come up, leading with the heart center. Okay. And then release the legs again. So this one, we are going to do eagle pose. So this will allow the hips to release, the shoulders to release. Some of you might find that this pose is a little difficult on the shoulders, so I'll give you some pointers on how to release some tension in the shoulders when you're doing the pose. So to start with, we're just going to do the arm part. So I want you to stand, if you can, with your feet together. If you are not comfortable standing with your feet together, feel free to stand with them shoulder width apart again. So we're going to stand with our feet together. Again, finding the balance front and back, lining everything up so that you're in alignment, and then you're going to bring the right hand out, left hand on top, wrap them around each other, bring the elbows to shoulder height. This is where you're probably going to find some tension. So if this hurts and it's too much, release the elbows back down, okay? So bring the elbows to shoulder height, and then you want to take the hands away from the face. And remember to breathe. And then come back out. All right. So then we have to do the other side. So you want to bring the left arm out, right arm on top, wrap them around each other, bring the elbows to shoulder height, and bring the hands away from the face. Again, if you feel any sort of tension whatsoever in the shoulders, you can release the elbows back down. The idea in this pose is to release the back of the body. So you want the shoulder blades to be moving away from each other. And then release and come back down. So if you have a hard time getting your hands to intertwine, you can always use a strap. So when you get to this point, you can use the strap and just allow the strap to be your pull, okay? So we are going to do the legs piece of this. So if you cannot do the legs piece of this, don't worry about it. And if you have issues with it, just stand in Tadasana when we're doing these poses. So you're going to take your right foot, you're going to wrap it around your leg. Ideally, your toes should come to the other side of your calf. As you can see, I can't quite get my toes there, but I can get it behind, okay? So you want to bend your knee slightly, and this is where your balance comes in a little bit, but your stability is also key in this. All right, and then come back out. Have to do the other side. So find your stability first. So a lot of yoga is not about balance per se. It's more about having the stability that creates that balance as you move up. So you want to bring your left foot out this time. You're going to wrap it around the right leg. Notice my hip is way tighter on this side. I can't even get my foot behind my calf. So this is a good hip stretch around to the back of the hips and through the sides right here. Okay? And then release. So now, in a full eagle pose, you would do the arms and the legs at the same time. If you couldn't do the legs, feel free just to stand in Tadasana and do the arms again. Or if you want to give it a shot, then you can do all of them together. So we're going to bring the right arm out, left arm on top, wrap them around, elbows to shoulder height, pull the hands away. Bring the right foot out, wrap it around the left leg, and bend the knees slightly. If you can't get your toes to wrap around your calf, you want them to point down towards the floor. And take a breath, and then come back up to standing and unravel yourself. All right, so come back to your Tadasana. Left arm out this time, right arm on top. Intertwine them, elbows to shoulder height, hands away from the face. Left leg out this time, wrap it around right. Get it as far as you can. If you can't get it around, just point the toes towards the floor. You're still creating a nice stretch in the hips as you do this. And then unwind yourself, shake out the shoulders a little bit. All right, so we're gonna do two more poses. The next one is to set up Tadasana as though you are going to sing. So the idea in Tadasana is, I'm gonna turn this way so you can see. You want your knees, so these pants aren't great, but my knee is here, to be on top of your ankle, your hips to be on top of your knee, your shoulder to line up with your hip, and your ear to line up with your shoulder as much as possible, without creating the tension in the front of the neck. So if you go back like this, notice how I'm creating all sorts of tension. So if you start from the bottom, you find big toe, baby toe, heel, find the balance between the front and the back. Once you've found that balance, and take a look down the side. See that everything is lined up. Roll the shoulders back to bring the shoulder blades together. So you're opening up the front of the chest. Bring the arms down to the side and line up the ears with the shoulder as much as you can. All right, now, obviously you're not going to stand and sing like this for the most part. If you feel like your knees are locked, I want you to bend them slightly. Contract the quadricep muscles, so these ones right here, and then straighten the legs again. This will stop you from locking your knees. All right? And then, of course, once you start doing choreo and such, you're going to move around. But that's a good, you're not creating a lot of tension doing that. So the very last pose is tree pose. So go back to the stability that we had when we were doing eagle pose. We're going to start with our feet shoulder width apart. You can start with them together if you want, it's up to you. I like shoulder width apart. So find the stability in your feet. Big toe, baby toe, heel, lining everything up. Your core is actually doing quite a bit of work in this pose. And I want you to bring your hands to your heart center, and you're going to bring your right leg up into tree pose. So here is a good tree pose. If you want, you can bring your leg all the way up to here. If you cannot do either or, just gently place your toes onto the floor and rest your heel against your ankle. This is a perfectly good tree pose. So wherever you are in your tree pose, I want you to take 3 deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. All right, and then we're going to switch sides. So this pose is a really good pose to do if when you get back to chorus and you're doing it with friends. You can count on your friends and see if you can hold each other up without falling over. You should be pretty good at it by the time we get back to doing chorus. All right, so start with your Tadasana, big toe, baby toe, heel. Relax the shoulders, bring them down, bring the shoulder blades together in the back. You're going to bring your hands to your heart center. And again, you're going to lift your left leg up. You can lift it to here, or if you want, all the way up to here. Try not to put it against your knee, even though that's a really good spot to rest your heel. The reason for that is because when you do that, you create tension on your knees, and see how I'm bending sideways? You don't want that to happen because your knees don't normally bend that way. So find your spot, hands back to your heart center, and 3 deep breaths in. And happy singing.